I am José Manuel García-Lomas Allen-Perkins. Today we continue deepening with this video in the techniques for the development of successful negotiation, the 4 positions in negotiations. The question is how to influence others in negotiations to achieve, firstly, more effective relations, and secondly, to promote cooperation. We talk about the fact that in the development of negotiations there are basically 4 positions. 1. Win-lose position. 2. Lose-win position. 3. Lose-lose position. And 4. Win-win position. The first position, win-lose, this is the typical seller's position, a man who perhaps already belongs to the past, although of them there is still a amount at present. The win-lose salesman wants to win first and foremost and does not care that his customer, the other party, loses so that he wins. He has a short-term vision without realizing that when he gets his win-lose, the losing part knows himself to be the loser and he will not forgive himself. In short, he can be the seller of bread for today, hunger for tomorrow. This is a negative position because the customer knows himself loser and will try as soon as possible to restore the balance. The second position is the of lose-win position. This position is often developed when customer sees the salesman negotiator come to his company, which he has been impersonating that situation of win-lose of the seller being the customer as the loser. And now, when you see that the seller who comes to visit you is overwhelmed because he is not getting in the desired results and runs the risk of being kicked out of his company, needing to get the operation with the customer who is going to visit, the customer who detects the situation of need of the seller now returns with a lose-win, but being the seller the loser and himself the winner as a customer. And all this not only does it out of an eagerness to earn himself more than the seller in this operation, but in a certain way out of a desire for revenge for the time that he was made to pass as a customer through the ring of that salesman oriented to the win-lose. This is a negative position because now it is the seller who knows himself to be a loser, and now he will try as soon as possible to re-establish the equilibrium. The third position of lose-lose. At the height of human stupidity, and sometimes not so infrequent, the situation is reached. I lose, you lose, and we all lose. The lose-lose. It is enough to read in the press any day a new strike in a vital sector for the economy of the country. Strikers on a strike don't get paid and lose, and the rest of the country loses by being deprived of the services usually provided by strikers. A general strike is a typical lose-lose situation. Personally, I had a leading multinational client in its sector in which the working party went out strike with the company. During the time of the strike, the workers stopped earning their wages and the company lost the high ranking of the number 1 in its sector because the manufacturing stopped. They all lost and the management of the company received instructions from the international headquarters that if the situation was not resolved soon, they would leave the country to manufacture in a different and less conflictive country. There, the losses would have been terrible for both parties, as we can understand, but fortunately the strikers came to a sense and a mutually benefit agreement was reached. Therefore, as we see, the situation of lose-lose is not uncommon. On biblical levels, it is worth remembering the story of Samson and Delilah, where in the end Samson dies knocking down the columns of the temple filled with the enemies, the Philistines, who also perish in their entirely. This is a good example of a lose-lose position, even more negative because everyone knows they are losers. Fourth position, win-win. This position is the good, the intelligent, the position of successful negotiators who persistently, perseverating, seek mutual benefit, the win-win. The win-win position is an effective position. Only just solutions to conflicts are durable. If they are unfair, they do not resist the passage of time. Win-win oriented. Let's talk now about negotiating research. 1. What is the process? Recognize and satisfy needs by both sides. Second, what constitutes success or failure? Whether or not to reach an agreement acceptable to all parties on one or more points. Third, are good negotiators born? We were all born with certain aptitudes, but good negotiators find the real need. In other words, they are born and made. 4. What are the abilities, the skills of good negotiators? To raise and grasp the level of the worrying signs in the other party. Signs such as interest, acceptance, fear, resentment, displeasure, rejection, etc. 5. How are they acquired? Through experience and training. 6. Can they be taught? Of course they can. 7. What are the key elements of the negotiations? The negotiators. There are 4 types of negotiation according to their elements or negotiators. A. Between human beings, which is the purpose of this video. B. Between man and machine, for example, an astronaut or a Formula 1 runner. C. Between no humans, for example, between animals as the symbiosis for the constructions of an anthill. D. With ourselves, me with myself, the peripheral ego with the transcendental self. 8. Do all the negotiators have something in common? Yes. Example, the desire to reach agreement, having to give in, the use of tactics, etc. 9. Are there aspects of self-defeatism? In some cases, yes. For example, people who prejudge and think that negotiation is useless, such as bosses and workers, etc. 10. Can we influence others to provoke their cooperation? Yes, with motivation, with our attitude, with the search for the win-win instead of the win-lose, with progressive revelation, etc. 11. What roles does intuition play in negotiations? People believe in intuition, but what is intuition? Difficult to define. and knowledge of higher order at the mental or intellectual level, coming from the supersensible world, from the spiritual world. Also to discover the immanent thoughts of things, situations, the inspiration. The weak points are in the when to do things, that is to say, in the timing. Tactics, what? And timing, when. And techniques, how. Intuition plays in all of this. 12. Can a profile of the successful negotiator be developed? Yes, we'll see about that in the next video. 13. Why are children so skilled in negotiations? Because they are persistent, they know us well and our weaknesses, because they go directly to their objectives, because of their ingenuity, intuition, timing, because of our predisposition, because we run less risk, because they know how to motivate us through adulation and affection. 14. Are there cultural differences in negotiations? Yes, and they have to be taken into account. 15. Why haven't research and studies on negotiations have been taken into account before? Because not long ago there was nothing. There are relatively modern approaches of the rational, emotional human being, of the consciousness soul. Now let's talk about the coordinates of the negotiation. Where are we and where should we be in negotiations? First, if you are unknown and the other party has a close attitude, that could be expressed in, for example, I'm not interested. Then a dispute, discussion, situation will develop. Second, if you pass from unknown to be known, moving in that vertical direction according to the graph, but still the other party continues with the same close attitude, then a second situation of exchange, barter can occur. Third, if you are still unknown, but you have managed to change the attitude of the other party from close to open in the horizontal axis, like, for example, open attitude of convince me, motivate me, sell me, then you would be in a third sale situation. Fourth, but if you besides having changed the attitude of the other of close to open, and you too have gone from being unknown to being known by the other side, then you will be in the fourth position, which is negotiation. Then first there is a selling situation and then there is a negotiating situation. Negotiation is a step beyond selling. If you are interested in our videos, I suggest that you give a like and subscribe to our channel for the videos that are to come.